Okay, everybody, here we are with another show, and this is going to be Cyrilla Baer, who is a world-famous actress. How's that for I'll put you on the spot here on Discovering Autism. So this is what's going to be on this show. So, hello, Cyrilla.
Hello, how are you?
I am very good. Thank you very much for coming on the program here. This will be interesting to hear about your life as a person with autism who has had, I don't know your total past, but has it been your whole life you have been an actress?
Pretty much. Musical theater was actually my special interest when I was a little kid.
Cool.
Oh yeah, but by the time I was like 4 and had started seeing musicals on TV, you know, like Oklahoma and Carousel and Yankee Doodle Dandy, my mom, when one of those things was coming on, if I knew it was coming on late at night, she would just set a sleeping bag for me in front of the TV because she knew that at 3 a.m. she was going to find me there anyway. I was going to be there watching that movie. And I was completely addicted to The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah.
I had an LP recording of the movie, which was only partial, which made me crazy because back when I was younger, the movie only showed every year. So I could only see it once a year.
Yeah.
The album was partial, so I knew every single line on the album, but that didn't mean I knew the entire movie. I only knew what was included on the album. So every year I'd watch the movie and I'd be trying to memorize more of the movie that wasn't on my album. I made my friends crazy. Friends later on, they would show the movie for fun and they'd see me moving my lips along to the script of the movie and I would get banished. Once my brother was in a show on the one night of the year that they showed Wizard of Oz, and apparently I just behaved like a brat and I tried not to go. And my mother was, "This is your brother. Your brother's been working on this all year. You have to go." I'm like, "But the Wizard of Oz is on tonight. They shouldn't have scheduled it on Wizard of Oz night." So, yeah. Special interest.
You know, this is something it's always fascinating about these. I don't like the word interview because it sounds like I should be putting a bright light over your head and asking you personal questions or something. But I learned so much, and it just dawned on me as you're talking about this. I used to do this too. I used to get recordings of movies and things, and I'd listen to them until I would wear them out. I mean, Young Frankenstein of all things is one that I listened to like crazy, and I mean, I can just about play the movie in my head, you know. And Wizard of Oz, and you're right. That was one of the things that was so cool about when that era of television was that they played something only once, and they built it up for a month or so, maybe before they would air it, and it was like an event. I mean, families got their popcorn and their. I mean, it was like a big football event or something, and Charlie Brown's Christmas, and what are some other ones that were?
I almost forgot. Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Same thing.
Yeah.
Every year I was there.
How about
waiting for it?
Cecil B. DeMille's, any of his movies like Ben-Hur or The Ten Commandments? Those were things that I always thought were like epic movies, you know, that, and I still watch them. I still run them into the ground. I've got a collection of of DVDs that are basically extensions of my brain now, practically, you know.
Yeah, I'm absolutely ridiculous. I've become the same way kind of about Harry Potter and analyzing Harry Potter, and I watch the movies whenever they come on. And even though my boyfriend gave me the DVD collection, so I own it, but I will still watch the movies on TV whenever they come on.
Interesting. How about Lord of the
Special interest.
How about Lord of the Rings?
I am not as into Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
I own the movies and I have watched them, but I don't have that same addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched them. I'm like, that was really cool. And when they were first coming out, I waited for each one of them to be made and come out. But now that I've seen them all, I just don't feel the same way about them.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter, I'll watch it over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Yeah. Well, it's Harry Potter was really unique. It really was cool because of, and I at the time, because my sister loves the books. As a matter of fact, she would rather read the books than watch the movie. And
I love the books too.
Yeah, and but when they were just coming out, she was just like, oh, and every time I'd go up and visit her, she'd go, the movie's out, let's go to the movie. And that's how I even really got introduced to them. I'm not a real reader because of my dyslexia. It just isn't easy for me. It's not a pleasurable thing for me to read, unfortunately.
I actually myself am a voracious reader, but my eyes don't scan very well. They kind of jump a little bit. And so my eyes get exhausted very fast, which is incredibly frustrating for me. Otherwise, I'd be reading all the time. But it's physically, my eyes start to burn, and it's extremely frustrating. Aside from autism, unfortunately, I also have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is what threw me out of my career finally when it got too bad. So I sometimes find myself wondering what parts of what I'm dealing with are autism and what parts are Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, because things like sensitivity against my skin can be either one of those. Things like becoming tired and the chronic fatigue can be either one of those. There are a lot of things that I can't quite figure out what falls where. Wow. But I figure my eyeballs are the EBS, and that's frustrating. I love reading.
Yeah, when I get a book that I like, I can do it. You know, the interest or the interest is higher than the fatigue or whatever, and I can concentrate on it. But so wow, tangent, cool, I love it. I mean, talking about Harry Potter, we could go into that. Matter of fact, let's make this a Harry Potter show. We
could do it.
What's unique about it is, to me, was that watching those kids grow up.
That's true.
And that was another element to those movies and plus, of course, just the art. My sister's a medical illustrator, so she's really has an eye for art, to say the least. And she would just bring out, she said, just look at that set. And of course, I would be like, no, oh yeah, look at that set. And I was like, wow, you're right. And so I'm starting to look at the amount of energy they put into, and the detail, and just everything is perfect.
It was stunning to look at. The thing about watching the kids grow up is also, from my perspective, I was watching them become actors. It was very interesting to see how they changed, and when they kind of left the childish way that child actors approach acting and started to approach it more from an adult perspective. It was very interesting to watch as a professional. Well,
and the story themselves fostered that, where they had relationships then later on in the series. I mean, it was all. It would be fascinating to talk with them. I'm sure they probably have interviews about all this, but is their perspective of growing up, and that's got to be hard too. I mean, you did this. You started pretty much as what age did you actually professionally start then?
I did not start working professionally until I was in my teens.
Oh, that's still.
So I wasn't dealing with the whole child actor thing. I was growing up loving acting and performing in the school stuff. But my choral teacher in junior high realized that I had a much more impressive voice than I was showing, and she asked my father if she could give me voice lessons. And this huge voice came out, though I had no control over it for a couple of years after that. But then she suggested, she says, look, she's doing all the drama, she's got this voice, there's a brand new high school of performing arts in Atlanta, you need to take her up there and try to get her enrolled. Cool. So that's how that whole thing started. And when I auditioned, my voice was very small. Like I said, I couldn't control it. It wasn't showing itself. So I actually was brought in more as an actress. And then the next year, suddenly my voice opened up, and they started looking at me more as a singer, and I became their baby opera singer that they would trot out and show to people they were trying to get money from or whatnot. So, yeah, I got to miss that whole thing. I got to have my regular, quote-unquote, childhood. But since I was being very, very bullied in my neighborhood and at my school in my small town, being taken to Atlanta to the School of the Arts also really changed my life that way. It wasn't just that I was finally getting to learn about what I was so fascinated with, but I was finally around people who were more accepting of my kind of oddness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite surprised to be told by one of my underclassmen friends that in my senior year I was popular, because I had no idea what that felt like.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize it when it happened. It just like completely flew over my head. I just knew that, aside from the director who was bullying, he was the type who would say, "Cyrilla, don't turn profile on stage. Your nose is blocking out the rest of the cast." He was awful.
Mm.
But the other teachers and my fellow students were just incredibly accepting. So it saved me. It really did save me. I was just practically suicidal when I was in junior high school. I was being attacked so much.
Really? Did you know this was autism at that point?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Can I tell you the story of how I figured the autism out? Because I think it's fascinating.
Sure.
It only happened a couple of years ago, and I've been in a relationship for about 10 years now with my boyfriend, and he's very quirky. And I was thinking, he's super sensitive to sounds and colors, and and he's also quite brilliant. And I thought, it's got to be autism. He's like, no, it's got to be autism. So I started researching it. And while I was researching it, I became less sure about him. But first I realized that my brother, who had died a few years previously, fit the profile perfectly. He was brilliant. He was nonverbal till after 3 years old. He had all these potty training issues. He had violence issues with me. He fit some of the traditional autistic stuff. And then during my searches, I stumbled across this autism in girls and women thing. And so I watched it. And I went, holy crap, this is me. Am I the autistic one? It's not Rick. It's me. I'm the audit. And so's my mother. Oh my God. So yeah. I was searching for someone else's autism and went, oops.
Now, what I'm gonna put for me, I was very relieved because it's been a struggle. At some level, I'm still trying to figure all that out. It's only been a year for me, by the way. In February of last year, of 2018, I was diagnosed, and about 2 months before that, I kind of discovered on my own. And but I'm still, matter of fact, I'm probably in one of the lower stages right now of all this acceptance and understanding, and not acceptance, but change, the change that is caused. But did you go through any of that?
It's odd. I mean, I've been reading your posts, and I've been like really feeling for you as you go through this. And for me, it was a total relief. I also diagnosed my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome basically on my own with some input from a friend who was a med student. And when I finally found online what it was, I cried. I wept. I went into my boyfriend with tears in my eyes going, I know what's wrong now. Oh my God, I know what's wrong. And I went to a doctor and gave him my suspicions, and he did the criteria on me. He's like, yeah, it's like hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. We can't fix it. All we can do is treat the symptoms. It's not curable. And he's like, why are you smiling? I just told you it's not curable. And I said, because now I know what it is.
Yeah.
And I had the same basic reaction with realizing that I must be autistic. Now I know what it is. Well, all that time that I felt like an alien, all that time that I couldn't understand things, all that time I felt suicidal, I know what it is now, and actually I accepted it completely because I just wanted the explanation.
Yeah. Now, I agree with you. I'm 100% right on board with you there. But what I'm dealing with now feels like, I'm trying to think of how to summarize it. I think it is parts, I'm going to put this. Well, I also think, and I think Natalie agrees with this, and another friend of mine agrees with this. They actually pointed it out was alexithymia. Is not really having a good sense of what I'm physically feeling and emotionally feeling, and being able to put words on it. So it's hard for me, which I don't think helps the situation I'm in any either. And I think that's I think what I'm fighting is things like my age, and saying, okay, here I am 60, and it just seems like life has just begun. And so there's I guess I've tried not, I say I don't want to be bitter about it, but I wish I want it all to happen now. Maybe I'm just impatient. But I felt just what you said. I mean, I was in a really, really dark place when I found out it was the 2nd of January of 2018. And it was just a coming together of lots of situations that I looked into Asperger's. And when I found it, and especially when I found the community, and so they're all talking about what it is I've been feeling all my life, I knew it. At some level, this was it. But then I proceeded to have it diagnosed so that I could be sure. And really, that didn't even make me for sure. It took almost a year till I finally said, yeah. I could then start to see it. Even things like you brought up today, I didn't know. Here we go. This is. I should call this being naked. Autism discovered here, because I wet my bed until I was almost 13. I mean, and it was one of the. It's like there's all these little things that happened in my life that were causes of shame and ways I did not. I was down on myself, and I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to put into words. Is that's that feeling I'm still not getting rid of, or there's been some other things that have been happening recently that also have sort of have shaken my self-confidence and my stability and my foundation. I guess the foundation's already shaken up. That's a good thing. It's a good thing, but anyway, that's sort of where I'm coming from. It was positive, Cyrilla. It really was. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I've been looking for it all my life, and but it is a huge adjustment for me.
I will say that even NTs have those kind of things that come back to their minds constantly. Those remembrances of shameful things that happened when we were growing up. That I had a fear of bathrooms, and I can't explain it. But I had a problem with public bathrooms. They frightened me. And so I wet my pants in public a couple of times. I peed behind a Christmas tree in the classroom, and people realized I'd done it. I wet my tights in dance class when I was, 8 or something.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why my brain would say better to take a risk peeing in the classroom than to go to the restroom in the school, but I couldn't. I don't know if I couldn't raise my hand to go, if I was afraid of calling attention to myself, or what it was. I just remember I could not actually go to the bathroom. So these that happened to me. And they come back and they poke at me. But now that I understand the autism, they actually poke at me less.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, okay, something was going on there in my brain wiring that I didn't understand and no one else understood, but it's just brain wiring.
Yeah.
And it's probably growing up with that brain wiring and my brain adjusting to that wiring. And again, I look at my brother and his potty training problems. It's crazy. He was wearing diapers until like 2nd or 3rd grade. And he was this incredibly brilliant individual who created software programs for the government out of a business he created completely on his own. He was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So I see them as just being two halves of the coin, and there being trade-offs in the thing. And I've also had a lot of trouble with figuring out what I'm feeling. I've always had that. And I've talked to therapists before, and none of us really understood why it was there or why I'm afraid of things that I'm afraid of. And I will say, I was talking about this online in the group today. I'm very lucky because my career led me down a path where I got to try on different people's skins all the time. And as I tried on these different people's skins, and first people thought I was a good actress, but I wasn't, because I was faking it. I was pulling what I saw and creating these characters based off what I saw other people do. And then as it was pointed out to me that I had a lot of talent, but I wasn't accessing things completely internally, I got to be a really good actress because somehow, instead of just copying people, I started pulling from inside them. I started really understanding how they worked, even though just looking at them, I couldn't figure out how to talk to them. Very strange thing. But trying on their skins somehow, I think, has helped me kind of work my way through what my skin might be.
Yeah. That's sort of what I was been thinking about since we started this conversation or this topic, was that I think that's one of my frustrations, is that I'm so tired of masking. I wasn't happy being that person. And now I'm at the point where I don't know who I am. I mean, I kind of do. And I mean, I'm understanding things about myself as autistic that I kind of go, really? Me? And yet I want to be that person so bad, and yet I have a social pressure that says you can't be. I've got the masking that still brings up all these counter behaviors that says you can't be. And so it's this adjustment. It's this transition between the NT life and the autistic life, and that's, I guess, is what, in a very general sense, is what I'm having the struggle with.
And it's unfair. It's unfair. There's no two ways about it. I'm in a community where it's fine to be different. That's part of what the theater community is. The misfits going to theater, the gays in hiding going to theater. It's a community that is like, you're a little strange, but that's okay. All of us are. Although one of my favorite lines, one of my friends said, I said, I'm so glad to be an actor because you guys don't hear that I'm odd. And she looked at me and smiled and said, Cyrilla, even for an actor, you're really pretty strange. but she said it with love.
Yes.
And it is not fair that in the rest of the world, in the rest of society, that artists can't just be themselves. I was able to be my strange self before I knew it was autism. That's beautiful. And there's a number of people I know that have expressed how they wish there was an autistic community, and I think this is what that desire is: a place that you can go to be yourself. And exactly.
I don't
and learn what's the mask and what's you.
Yes. And I think I think what I am, I could let that down so much quicker to be around people and be myself. But I'm here at home with a cat, a blind cat on top of it, and so he can't see what I'm doing. And it's so strange that there's something about it needs to be physical too, because as nice as the internet is, there's still a barrier there. There's still a wall that even if you're sitting at home rocking and or fidgeting, whatever, you're in your own mind. You're still in your own little space. You're not out. And I think that is so important. Maybe that's kind of what I'm fighting. Matter of fact, this is helping me heal right now to talk about this, because I think this is what it is for me.
Great.
Yeah.
Even if the first feelings that you feel and that you're aware of are feelings of being cheated.
Yeah.
Or feelings that you're not quite where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're still feelings.
Right.
And you're still getting in touch with those feelings. All feelings are valid, even if they're feelings that are in the journey to the more concrete feelings. Okay. God, does that make any sense at all?
I like that. That helps me a lot, because you're right. There's part of the NT masking is the denial of those feelings, and yes. So that you, and that's one of the first things I sort of said to myself, and I kind of look at it now, saying that was the NT talking, of, okay, don't be, are you going to are you going to ruin this opportunity and be resentful or angry or whatever about it taking 59 years? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to be positive about this. But I think what we're saying is you still need to feel those. It's still a stepping stone in the right direction.
Feel all the feelings, because it's hard for us to figure out what we're feeling.
Yes.
So if you're feeling resentful, go, okay, cool, I'm resentful like frickin' now. That's what I'm feeling. It's a real feeling. It's not masked. There it is. Now from here, can I move on to something that's a more productive feeling? But recognize it, grab it, and go, this is it. This is what I'm feeling. Because, man, I was so confused. I was in therapy after my marriage broke up, and I'm like, well, what do you this and what do you that? And all I kept saying was, I'm sure he has his reasons. I just kept trying to get in his head.
Yeah.
And I kept blaming myself on things on myself that had nothing to do with me, because I was trying to get in his head. And finally, my therapist turned to me and said, did it ever cross your mind that maybe he's just an asshole? And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that NTs tend to be less questioning than we are. Mm-hmm. They tend to just accept the emotions that they see because they're used to them, and they've seen them mirrored themselves in plays and movies and TV, and that everyone's the same as they are. And I just think they're less questioning. I know I do. I don't see an emotion as being an emotion. To me, an emotion is it's like a ball. It's like a ball of caviar, and each of those little eggs is a different part of or intensity of that emotion. An emotion is not a simple thing. So if an emotion is not a simple thing to us, it's going to be harder for us to find and zero in on what MTs look at as just a very simple thing. I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm sad, blah, blah, blah. They're not that easy. There's different levels of factors inside each of those emotions for me. So it's harder to find.
Yeah. Wow. I owe you money, extra money for therapy session today, really.
Again, it's just because I've been living all these different people all my life.
Wow. That's
I haven't been having to mask as here is Cyrilla, I am this masked person so I can get through things. I have been trying on whole people with whole history and acting the way that they act and the way they feel every single night for 2 months. Here's another one for 2 months. Here's a different one for 2 months. Here's one just for an audition. I've got to build them up too. So I've been trying on full personas and full experiences. And I think that that's given me a completely different vantage point than most autists get to experience.
Wow.
So even if I can't identify my own, I can compare them to what was going on in these other people I was trying on.
Wow. Fascinating. And this is the kind of an experience that people who are autistic need. This is my perspective looking at you now from my perspective outside of your experience, but I can see exactly what you're saying. And in a way, we try to do this as autistic people. This is why we do memorize movies and memorize lines and things and copy, and I think everybody sort of is at some level trying on, whether it's a real live person like my cousin or my family member or friend or teacher, that you're studying them. And she always thought it was like, because I didn't fit in, I felt I needed. I guess that's what everyone says, that you don't feel like you're fitting in, so you try to figure out why, and so you, in a way, are sort of mimicking other people to. I felt like I was doing it in order to win their favor, or if I was more like them, then I'd be more likable.
I wanted people to like me. I thought there must be something wrong with me that people didn't respond to me as the kind of person I knew I was on the inside.
Yes.
So yeah. I did the same thing.
Yep. Wow. I feel better. Seriously.
It's just that being an actor, I got to try on a whole bunch of different people. And I got to step back out of them because I was in an industry that was accepting of my stepping back out of them.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
I'm a lucky girl, I'm telling you. I've got a lot going against me in my life, and I don't even consider the autism as being part of that. That's just part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Ehlers-Danlos and all, and the pain and the being thrown out of my career way before I wanted to be, but this is a lucky thing. The fact that I ended up in the career that I did, and that I was really good at it. I'm not gonna whitewash that and be totally humble. I'm good at this.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I'm good at it, a big part of the reason I'm good at it, is that I'm an artist.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about writing a book or articles or something about this? You've got a incredibly unique perspective, and I think you've got experiences and wisdom, and just what you've talked with me today. I think you could help so many people who are in our shoes, in a sense, coming out as autistic in the world, and for them and admitting it to themselves or accepting it. It's not even an acceptance thing. It's that transition. But I'm just seriously, it's been wonderful talking with you.
Thanks.
Yes.
I could never do it on my own. I'm too tired. That's the EDS, the chronic pain, and all this makes me too tired. But I mean, if someone wanted to write this stuff up and create a book on it or create whatever they wanted on it, I'm happy to sit and talk and just share my opinions. And I'm part of my life has been also being fascinated by psychology, fascinated by brain science, just how and why normal brains behave the way they do, and how I might or might not be different from the way that normal brains work. And I'm big into reading about social sciences and how different civilizations set up the rules for how they behave, and why on earth don't we have the same kind of setup that they do? Why are we so judgmental? Why are we so into religion? Why are all these things? So, I mean, if you know someone who wants to write my thoughts down, I'm more than happy to do it. I didn't think I had that much insight to offer, but maybe I do, because my life has been a little bit unique, I guess.
Well, maybe it's we'll be thinking. Let's think about that together. Maybe there's something we can do as a team, and maybe it's just more interviews and more targeted on certain topics and things. But we'll see. I think you do have a tremendous potential there. Let's wow. Let's go back to Harry Potter. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I'm trying to think of where we kind of left off age-wise. Let's see. Let's start back to where you first started. You had an opportunity in your high school or in your teens to start into something professional. And where did it go from there?
Okay. I mean, are you looking for a career trajectory or a personal trajectory?
A combination. Well, I'm not sure. I guess I don't separate them. It's because we were sort of just talking about what you did as a kid, and then it went to I guess the personal side and the autistic side. Of course, that will bring in the professional too. So we'll emphasize the personal.
It's hard to explain. It was great to find something I was really good at, because that got me accepted for being really good at it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was odd to be told that I was popular my senior year of high school, because I didn't really understand that. To me, the popular people were the people who made fun of and tried to trick the other people like me. I was, always the butt of jokes. And in fact, this was my last year, a girl from my junior high, beautiful, blonde, with a great singing voice, came into the program in the summer. We always had the summer programs too. And she tried to poison my experience. She started telling everyone what was going on with me when I was in junior high, and how everyone picked on me and what all was going on. And she tried to change everything. And that's when I found out about the popularity, because my friend Wardstead They're not listening to her. They all know you. They think she's an idiot. They don't care. They know you as you. She can't ruin anything for you just because she knows about your past. So, and I found that absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But as I went through, I knew I was really good at this, but I was still on the outside. There were still so many things that I couldn't figure out. My relationships were all terrible because I was so gullible and so innocent, and I attracted men who were very psychologically abusive, and the types who would be drawn to the fact that I had this talent and I had this career and I had these great reviews, and let's see if we can destroy her.
Oh.
I've never understood that.
No.
That there are so many things about the NT personality that I do not understand, and I sure don't understand that.
Wow.
So I had the combination of having this really, really great career I was really proud of, and yet still not being able to protect myself, not knowing when I needed to protect myself.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of actors find it devastating if they don't get parts or roles, or if I don't have a problem with bad reviews, but I was able to handle them better than most. But my problems really were feeling on the outside. When I finally came to New York, I was brought up from Chicago with the show Adding Machine, a musical. And I was very lucky there. I was having trouble getting hired in Chicago because I already had my union card. They like to see actors come up from scratch. They like to see them, when they're still in college. And it was very hard to get work. But this part came up that was perfect for me and extremely difficult for almost anyone else to do. The music was incredibly difficult. And I came to New York with that. And the cast in New York, it was the same three leads, although they didn't want to take me at first. They wanted to get a star to fill my part. They wanted Broadway star Judy Kay to do my role when I went to New York. And the composer and the director and some other people fought for me and said, no, Cyrilla has to come. She's created this part. She has to come. So I ended up being there. But they recast the rest of it. And there was a woman who hated me on sight. She detested me on sight. And she would say things to people. She'd run over my conversations. She'd try to make me not exist. And people said, well, because she wanted the part. And I'm like, but it's got to be more than that. And so I stopped going to lunch, and it was always hard for me to go to lunch with people anyway, because I always felt like I was intruding. But I stopped going out with them. I would just sit, and it probably didn't help that I was sitting back there reading a bunch of essays by Richard Feynman, because that just made me seem even stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you reading? Oh.
Wow. But
I found out later, she mellowed later when we got cast in a different show together. And she said, you were too nice. And there was something about you that just wasn't right. And I didn't trust you. And later, when I started thinking about the autism, I looked back on that and I thought, you know what? She was right. If she's the type of person who has her guard up and is going on her gut feelings, there was something not right about me. But it certainly wasn't that I was a liar and that I was too nice. It was the autism. Wow. For her oversensitivity and her hackles, there was something about me that wasn't quite right. It was me masking and trying to fit in.
Interesting.
So I couldn't really blame her. I look back on it now and I'm like, I don't blame her. She picked up on something that I did not pick up on. And I find that kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Boy, that's hard. I think for me, I've had enough personal attack. One in particular. I think one that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back was I had a job. How many years ago was this now? 20 years ago, I guess it's been, boy, time is flying. And it was, there's a lady that I had worked with, and when I took the job, the lady that she had worked with, who was quitting, and I took her job, she came to me and said, well, how do you like so-and-so? I said, okay, so far. And she goes, yeah, well, you just wait, or something like that. Or, yeah, and I was like, well, that was a strange thing to say. And it turns out I don't know if this is narcissism or what it is, but this person, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody. She would belittle, and she would taunt, and and it was all subtle. It was all covert in a sense, but she had just been pushing my buttons. I think I'd worked there for about 4 years. It was about 2.5, 3 years into this, where we had she did something one day, and this is the only time I think I really had a full-fledged meltdown that I can remember, by what I think of as a classic meltdown. I kind of just remember almost the world going gray, and everything was distant, and it was just like this. A point was reached to where I remember had a reaction. I said, I'm going to go talk with the supervisor, and basically I told him, I said, I can't work with her. Of course, she had everyone else thinking everything was fine dandy. But anyway, long story short was that it basically, I lost a home, lost a job, probably was over $100,000 I lost because of that incident. And it has been, it changed me. I mean, I guess because it set a level of fear in me that, and I still don't know if I understand it. This is this whole thing about being autistic, is that, yeah, the major things you pick up on, like you're bleeding to death, like, but the subtle things, it's just like, I don't know still that I could decide. I don't know her motive. I don't really know. It's like I wasn't even looking at her. I don't know. But anyway, when I went into this whole tangent because I'm thinking, I admire your ability to forgive her and to see it in that perspective. I mean,
interestingly, she started to attack other cast members later. She started with me. And only one person noticed it. She came up to me and said, Cyrilla, we just want you to know that some of us see what's happening. But she started attacking other ones later. And they were like, what do we do? What do we do? I said, and I remember especially turning to one girl that I just really liked a lot. I said, you have a wonderful husband, a wonderful marriage, an amazing daughter, this great career, talent, kindness, and intellect. A woman who is attacking you is very, very unhappy. She's on Broadway all the time in ensemble roles, but she's not getting what she wants. She's not having the relationship she wants. She's usually involved with married men. And she is desperately unhappy.
Yeah.
Just know that that's probably why she's doing this to you.
Yeah.
This is how she handles her life. And they were like so surprised, that I was able to do this with this woman who had attacked me so much. But it just, I think that's part of the autism too, is I feel things very deeply. I mean, if a kid falls off a bicycle in front of me, somehow I feel guilty for it because I should have seen it somehow and managed to stop it. It's that kind of weirdness where the entire world, I'm supposed to have an influence on it.
Right.
But I also am able to pull back from things in ways that NTs apparently can't. And see individuals and see why they may be doing the things that they're doing. I certainly couldn't do that when I was younger. I didn't understand any of it. Why are people so mean to me when I'm not a bad person? Why? But after putting on all these characters, including a serial killer, I played a serial killer in a musical before. After putting on all these characters and all these different personalities, I am more likely to look underneath the surface of NTs and see if I can find out if their evil tendencies are coming from pain. And if they're coming from pain, which they most often are, pain or fear, I can forgive them.
Yeah, yeah. My father was I still don't know what. I want to say a narcissist, but I somehow also suspect possibly on the spectrum, as well as his father and my sister, and possibly my cousin. But I have, as in all the pain and suffering, and don't use those words lightly, that man caused, I still try to find a reason. It's and I don't know, and it's like a mystery now that I need to solve this, because there's a part of me, it's sort of like you're saying, there was something underlying there. I think at some level I believe he was a good person that was just really, really screwed up, and and now with the autistic perspective, I'm looking at the way he treated us and going, if he was a person that just didn't know how to, because he couldn't form relationships, or and I don't even know enough to talk about it. Maybe it's so sensitive I can't talk about it. But off on a tangent. Don't know what the heck I'm talking about now.
I think that this is one of the saving graces of autism. And again, it's not fair. It's not fair that we're the ones who have to adapt, that we're the ones who have to cope. But I think that we can pull back and analyze what people do and find reasons for it. Whereas a lot of NTs just knee-jerk fight back, knee-jerk yell back, knee-jerk are nasty back. And it's not fair that we have to do it, but it's kind of a lifesaver that we can.
Yeah. See, this is another change. This is one of the things I probably like least about myself, is the end. I'm going to make this. I'm not saying every NT in the world is a dirtbag or a scumbag or an idiot or anything else, but
it seems like it sometimes, doesn't it?
But there's this side of me that, you're talking about picking up those reactions to people, and those are NT reactions I've picked up. Well, if you're going to be pissed off at me, I'm going to be pissed off at you. Or if you're going to treat me like that, I'm going to treat you like that. And that was never how I used to be. And it's not how I want to be. This ties into, I feel more comfortable being off air to talk with you about some of this, just because some of it's just still too raw right now, to be that open about it. But anyway, it's just.
I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. And again, we also, I think, that autists are very clued into what feels fair. We want life to be fair.
Yeah.
We want people to be treated well, and we want life to be fair. And the fact that it's really not, I think, hits us even harder than it hits most NTs.
Yeah.
So we're forced to use our ability of being rational and pulling back and looking at these things and going, this is just how people's minds work. This is not how my mind works, but this is how other people's minds work, and this is what's going on. And it has nothing to do with me personally. Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. People are reacting out of fear or out of pain. And unfortunately, NTs especially tend to fear what they don't understand. They tend to fear what's different. Again, that's why the theater community and the art community is so great, because they don't fear what's different. They're used to everybody being different.
Mm-hmm.
Difference is accepted. Difference is practically glorified.
Yeah.
So I was much safer there than I would have been anywhere else. And again, I think I'm certainly not going to say that I'm a pillar of mental health, but I think I'm better off because I was lucky enough to be in that community.
Yeah.
Which has enabled me to get in touch with myself in ways that most autists are simply not allowed to, because you're just struggling to be able to communicate with these people every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an excellent question that's just disappeared. It was,
I hate it when that happens.
I know. Well, we've gotten on some beautiful topics, and see, this is one of the problem. This is a problem I'm struggling with in this position of being the interviewer. Is that I'm emotionally so involved in what's going on that you'll say one thing, it's like, oh, and that's it. That thought, whatever was thinking of asking you a question, it's like I'm off into my own little world, and so I have that conflict going on here. But
well, that's because this is not an interview like on the Tonight Show where someone's coming in basically to tell some stories and promote a movie. This is not an interview; it's a dialogue.
Yeah, that's a better word for it.
What you're doing are dialogues. It's just in an interview format to get stuff to come out. That's all. It's a dialogue.
Right. Yeah, that's the word I've been looking for. As
opposed to the monologuing that we all do.
There's been times I think when I started off on this, I was a little bit too monologish. Yeah, it's trying to think now of where to go. I know one of my question was something about it was you were talking about having EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and some of the other things that have come into your life. Can you tell us more about that side of it and how it's changed your acting career?
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, like autism, is hereditary. There are, I think they've discovered 13 different versions so far, but what they all have in common is, for one reason or another, the body does not make collagen correctly. And there are a lot of different chemical and hormonal and whatnot aspects that feed into the body making collagen, and each of the types has a different problem with making collagen correctly. But that means that my tendons and ligaments have always been very loose. A lot of my muscles are too tight because they respond to trying to hold my body together. I fall upstairs a lot. There's balance issues. And interestingly, a lot of it falls along the same lines as autism, with the clumsiness and all. And I am almost convinced there's a big overlap with autism in the EDS community, a big overlap. And I think that they're connected. I think perhaps the sheathing that appears to be too thin that makes us very sensitive to things might be because of connective tissue issues. It might be the same type of stuff. The building blocks are a little bit off.
Yeah.
But with the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I was always weak and in some kind of pain. And in school, my PE directors would just tell me that I was weak and lazy. So I kind of internalized that. And I always figured that if I hurt, everybody hurt. And the fact that I got into show business so young consolidated that feeling, because I was always surrounded by dancers, and dancers are always hurt. Dancers always are in pain because they're working so hard. And I dance too. So I just assumed everybody hurt. It wasn't until years later when I finally got the diagnosis that I started to realize that my pain was different from other people's pain, that I was hurting for different reasons. And it only started to get bad after menopause. When I reached puberty, there was kind of an aggressive switch toward it, and then when I hit menopause, it got far worse because hormones can trigger it. Mostly women suffer from it. A lot of men have it, but because their muscles are so strong, they don't notice it. So they're asymptomatic. But I started falling and twisting my ankle even more than usual. I was always falling and twisting my ankle, but a lot more than usual. I would fall down on the streets of New York. I just fall. My leg muscle started seizing up and pitching me forward. I started losing my ability to project my voice. I started getting dizzy backstage. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And of course, I was scared it might be something even worse.
Yeah.
So once I figured out what it was, I started to realize that it was not going to get better. It was only going to get worse. The first thing I did was I decided, okay, so I can't trust my body, so I'll do readings of musicals. And people love that. All these young composers and writers who are like writing things specifically for me that they hope would end up going somewhere. And then, unfortunately, vocal cords are also connective tissue. And it started affecting my vocal cords. And my amazing singing voice that I had for years, I can sing 2 songs now, and my cords, just from talking to you now, are starting to get rough. They start to swell up and get rough. And that was that. So it's been very hard to accept.
I bet.
I feel like I'm kind of lost inside myself. So I'm back to kind of the way I felt when I was autistic and didn't know it. I'm lost inside myself again, but it's in a different way. And I've always been an overachiever, and now I can't. So I'm trying to start my own little side business. Gives me something to focus on. I became a certified hypnotherapist around 2001 as a side career. I'm also a professional animal trainer, but I can't do that anymore either because that involves being physical.
And what type of therapy was it again? What type of therapy?
Sorry?
You said you're what type of a therapist did you say? I missed it.
Hypnosis.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm a certified hypnotist. I'm certified by the National Guild of Hypnotists.
Wow.
So I create at-home memorization programs for actors and singers to use to memorize lines and music, and they work extremely well.
Wow.
And what I'm trying to do now is get my name out there for that in the community so that people will go to the website and download the stuff, because the actors who I've had tried are like, this is amazing. So it gives me something to focus on that is not terribly physical, and that I can get up and like work on my website and work on maybe creating press releases and deciding about like maybe if I want someone to write articles about me, or it at least gives me something to focus on, because otherwise I find it very hard. I'm about to turn 60. I should be able to just relax into retirement. My boyfriend takes me traveling all over the world. He's very careful to choose places that don't have many stairs so that I can handle things and not stress myself too much. But I can't be that relaxed person. I can't. My brain won't work that way. My brain wants to be busy. My brain wants to accomplish. My brain wants to create things. And I can't seem to make it stop.
Do you know, if on YouTube there's a woman, her name, she goes by Agony Audie?
I don't think so. I don't look at YouTube very much, so
okay.
I'm not familiar with many YouTubers.
She's in the UK, and she started a channel about a year and a half ago, and she's got the BBC. She was displaying this, and I don't know enough about it other than to tell you what she had said shortly. Was I guess there's 3 tiers to the BBC. There's a 1, 2, and 3, and 3 I think is like internet level. Programming, and then 1 and 2 is what we'd call our major network broadcasting. And she's got level 1 interest. I guess she's going to be starting some sort of a program about autism. And she's fascinating because she's EDS too, and she's lost over 100 pounds from it in this last probably year and a half, 2 years, and her life has just completely gone sideways, and this is opened up for her. But of course, she basically is working out of bed when she's in pain, and then getting dressed and going to where she has to go, and then coming back and staying in. It's that kind of a life. And she's married. She has I think just a son. But it's a fascinating story, and she's advocating for the autistic community, and not really now for other disabilities like EDS too. It's just people who have disabilities, because of how employment and everything is very prejudiced against any disability. And so she's she's brilliant, she's a fighter, she's intelligent, and she has a story that reminds me a lot of what you're talking about now. And she might be an interesting person to get a hold of. She was actually wants to do an interview with me, but she's been so busy with her career, which I understand completely. And I've write her and I say, I know you just went so-and-so, because we were supposed to do something at the beginning of the month. And she'd put it off from another time when all this really started for her. And I've just kind of said, look, this is small peanuts. This is me in a bedroom with a camera. You're talking about the BBC, Let's put this in perspective. Go have do your life here. And but there's some parallels there, and it's interesting. Again, EDS. Another friend I've got up in Canada, EDS. You could say there's definitely the connection there, and you've made an interesting connection too with the connective tissue connection, which is kind of a redundant, which makes sense. Wow, we're coming up here on the hour, and I think what we can do. Let's sort of put a summary on this for this time. I think there's so much we can talk about. You're just a fascinating person.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I didn't know you're about my age then too. I was 60 in September. I thought you were much younger.
No, I turned 60 in July.
Wow. Okay. Yep, we're pretty close then. I was September's me, so I was not that. Let's see. You are 60 then, or you're coming up on 60.
Coming up on
Okay.
it.
Yep, I'm your elder then. So.
That doesn't mean I'm going to let you boss me around,
No.
That's because you're older.
Yeah. If just as a summary, I don't know if there is I like to sort of. My whole purpose for this was leaving something with the people that are in our community, and as far as a moral of the story, and maybe even to the NT community. I know that's put you on the spot because I didn't put anything like that in our notes. But is there anything that comes to mind that you would say to people either with a career in acting that they're looking forward to, or just in something in general about employment or being autistic or?
I think all I can say is I have an autistic friend who's an actor, director, puppeteer, very, very talented, and his daughter is autistic and was really a problem child when they didn't really know what was going on with her. But as she got older and settled into herself, she got diagnosed, and then her diagnosis triggered her father's diagnosis. And he told me that she said to him, "Daddy, I think it's a superpower. I think being autistic is a superpower." And I think the more that we can, without ignoring how painful it was, especially growing up, especially for those of us who are older and who were not diagnosed, without ignoring that pain, I think the more we can look at it as a superpower, the happier we're going to be. There are an awful lot of pluses to go with these minuses, and they're the kind of pluses that NTs wouldn't even think about.
Yes.
And if there were more of us in higher positions, I don't know. I don't know if autistic politicians can get elected, but I think our mindset could change the planet. So yeah.
I do.
Superpower.
I agree. I really do. This has been a therapy session for me. We talked about issues that I'm dealing with right now, and it gives me a lot to think about. This will be one of the programs I probably watch again and again, just to go over what it all we talked about. Yeah, this was
Thank you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I really do believe you've got some gifts. Just what you just said. That's probably part of your mind, but also probably the acting. Just your presentation. You're a fascinating person, Cyrilla.
Thank you.
Well,
feel free the next time you talk to that British chick on YouTube. Tell her I exist in case she wants to talk to me too.
I will.
I'm happy to talk.
Well, I'm thinking that she's just getting into, in a sense, she's not so much a career of acting, but it's in that whole industry to where here she is, an autistic person trying to deal with, and I'm not exactly sure what they're. I think what they're thinking was having a half hour or an hour show about her talking about autism, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with guests, I don't know, or is it something where it's a, I don't know, but and I don't.
She should just know I exist the same way I know you exist, and now I know she exists.
Yeah.
It's a community. We should know that each one of us exists.
Yep.
Because autists lead such different lives and have such different experiences. Each one of us is bringing something different to the table.
Yes.
That ends up adding a different paint color to the painting. I'm not going to talk about puzzle pieces because I hate that puzzle piece crap. My brain is not missing puzzle pieces, and I am not a puzzle to be solved. We are a painting with different layers, different colors, and different textures, and each one of us adds a different blob of paint, color, or texture to the autism painting.
Yeah. Well said. Love the images. Beautiful.
Except for glop. Glop is bad.
What is, Amanda? What's bad?
Glop. I said paint glop, which is not really beautiful. I would change that to something else to make it really beautiful imagery.
I don't know. Well, I like that. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up and this is a great hour. It's going to be a fast hour. Anyone that listens to this, and we'll have to do something again here soon, and maybe work on our project of getting more of this treasure out of you that you don't even realize you've got. And so thank you, Cyrilla.
No, I don't. So that's cool.
That's cool.
Thank you for opening my eyes to realizing that I have something to say.
Oh, you do. Don't ever doubt it. I think there's a lot about yourself that you should be very proud of and should share. So
thanks.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, Cyrilla Baer. Thank you for this hour, and thank you for everybody out there in whatever land that would be called. I don't know, but this is Discovering Autism. This is Tom, and I thank you, and good day.